then got into modeling and entertainment, killed it in that industry, made 6 figures in my early 20s, bought a place in New York City, the most expensive place in the world. I had it all according to society's standards of having it all. And I felt so empty. If you give a shit about your own life and your family's life, you have to start caring about what's happening in the world. Because we're at a pivotal point where if you don't know what's happening and you're not aware of how every choice we make is a cause that creates an effect, then you're part of the problem. And you're either a part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And I did have some trauma in my early 20s. I was raped and sexually assaulted, which set me on this whole journey of spirituality and finding my core and what do I really want to do with my time on this planet, because I was faced with my shadows and the darkest parts of myself. I know that everything is a reflection of that same power. So how could I ever treat anything not sacredly? How could I ever treat it with a lack of respect? How? If I know that it's the same thing that I am. And it's that phrase, love thy neighbor as thyself. Everything is your neighbor. Everything. I think that the dis-ease of our world is that everyone is running away from who they truly are, trying to be somebody else. Meanwhile, who they truly are is all they need for everything they want. Our ego does not want to be destroyed. Our ego wants to look good. Our ego wants to be right. Our ego wants to be perfect. Our ego wants to be safe. And it's bullshit.
Wherever you are tuning in from today, we welcome you. Today we have climbed a mountain to bring you a woman who is literally moving mountains. She is an internationally recognized speaker. She is an author of 50 Ways to Yay. She is the founder of a non-profit called Epic. She is a woman on a mission to make personal development mainstream, and no doubt in my mind is she going to do that. She shoots straight from her heart and takes no prisoners. My guest today is none other than Alexi Panos. Yes. Alexi, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here right now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. How incredible that we are up here on a freaking mountain shooting
in LA.
video.
I got to address this too, because when I first moved to LA, I thought that it was always warm out. So for anybody watching who's like, why is she dressed really like she's cold? Because LA gets cold. I want people to know that.
Yeah, that's why we're in jackets.
That's why we're in jackets.
So, when I interviewed Preston, I made that mistake, thinking that LA was super warm, and I was here in a t-shirt, and I'm like shivering the whole time, trying to hold it in.
Totally.
But yeah.
Especially when you're this high up too, and you've got the ocean breeze. It's beautiful, but it's chilly.
Beautiful but chilly.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that you teach people is how to live an epic life.
Yes.
And I can see clearly that you are living an epic life. You're filled with passion, you are living your purpose, and you got a big grin on your face all the freaking time. Has it always been like this? What's your story?
In retrospect, it's always been epic because it's all led me here. But in the moments, I've had some really shitty moments in life. And I think it's important for people to get that, we see these people who are living extraordinary lives and are up to incredible things and doing magnificent things in the world, and we don't see the story that brought them there. And for me, I had a lot of uphill battles where it was mostly facing off with myself and my ego and my limiting beliefs. And I did have some trauma in my early 20s. I was raped and sexually assaulted, which set me on this whole journey of spirituality and finding my core and what do I really want to do with my time on this planet, because I was faced with my shadows and the darkest parts of myself. So every single thing that I've come up against has ultimately freed me and expanded me more as a human being, as a spiritual being on this plane, for me to serve more. So yeah, it hasn't been easy, but it's been extraordinary.
It's incredible just to be here with you and feel your energy, and it's for you to have gone through that path. That must be insane to go from there, and it must be very empowering for anyone listening who has had trauma in their life. to see you now. Like, most people would not assume that you have been through that.
Yeah.
Because of how you are today, so they see you and take you at face value.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people want the excuse of, well, I grew up with no money, I grew up where it's hard, I grew up with X, Y, and Z, so I can't have fill in the blank. And what I really want to relay to people is I've been doing work in Africa, in the poorest communities in the world, in Africa for 10 plus years. And those were the first people who I looked up to, who had it figured out. And, you know, by our standards in the Western world, they don't have clean water, they don't have electricity, they don't have a roof over their head, they don't have a door, they've got like a curtain in their house, they have one outfit, and it's normally like a cloth that they use for everything. But they're some of the happiest people I've ever met. They were truly wealthy from the inside out. And it's because they chose gratitude, they chose happiness, they chose to feel wealthy and abundant because they were. To them, they were. They're like, I have family, I have love, I have health, I have life. That's all I need.
Yet we're sat with a roof over our heads, abundance of clean water, food on tap, connected to the internet, and abundance of information and resources.
Totally. And we're miserable.
And we're miserable.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
I think because we've been sold the lie that it lies outside of ourselves. So we've been searching and seeking for external validation from, you know, starting with our parents. Then it goes to our teachers, then it goes to our friends, then it goes to our romantic interests, then it goes to society at large. You know, oh, well, now I need a better car, a nicer house, better clothes, I gotta look better, I gotta lose weight. And we're told constantly that we're not good enough, and we buy into that, and then we go out in the world seeking our happiness, seeking our validation, seeking our worthiness from there, and there is always changing, always. It's always shifting. So the crazy thing is we get to there, right? Whether it's like, I want to lose 20 pounds. All of a sudden we have the perfect body. We get to there.
Done that.
And then what?
Yeah.
Right? Because you've done it. I've done it too. Like, I had the perfect body when I was modeling, and I was so like stressed about keeping my measurements perfect so my agency was happy so I would get more bookings. The minute I did that, the whole industry shifted and they wanted something else. And I was like, oh, okay, now I have to be this. That's exhausting. Yeah. Right? But we're all doing that. We're all getting there, realizing either A, that's not what we want in the first place, B, we're still miserable, C, that's not what anyone else wants anymore, so then we keep adjusting ourselves for some idea of what we should be. Meanwhile, we're not living up to the idea of who we are. And that's why people are miserable, because we're missing out on the truth of who we are.
How did you begin that process of finding out who you truly are and stepping away from the construct of the reality, which is placed upon us when we're born into this world?
That's a great question. I think the path is different for everyone. For me, what it looked like was first identifying what life I was living, whose life I was living, what standards I was living by. So I had to look at everything from like my stories about men, money, women, body, beauty, food, health. I mean, I dissected everything because I'm crazy. So I went down the rabbit hole and said, okay, what have I been sold to? Like, what's the story I've been sold? And what do I actually choose? Like, what does Alexi want? What feels right to me? What feels good in my soul? What makes me feel good when I eat it? Versus what am I told I should eat? And I dissected all the shoulds in my life and then crafted my definition of what success and extraordinary living look like. And then I started living by that, and my awareness kept shifting, like, okay, this is working, this isn't working, and I just kept making adjustments. I'm still adjusting. But when you begin that process of awareness, you start to kind of take a back seat from your ego. The ego itself is what's running 99.9% of the world. And when you build your awareness muscle and you start going, that's interesting. I just made a decision out of feeling not good enough because I wanted to fit in, or I wanted to be liked, or I wanted to feel attractive. Interesting. Why did I do that? You just start getting curious about why you do certain things. And then you start separating ego self from God self. And when you start separating, you can then identify as God self more and start to see that this is the real deal and this is just a construct. And that's when the whole thing unfolds, because then you get like, oh, whoa, I'm creating everything in my reality. But I have to know that I am this first.
So Kurt, I know you're all about practical tools and tips. in all of your work that you do.
Yeah.
If someone's watching now and just like, okay, well, I get that, Alexi, that's cool. Like, I want more of that in my life. I really want to take control. Could you give, you know, 1 or 2 practical tips of like what they could take away today, just listening and tuning in?
Yeah.
That they could maybe do to start that?
A huge thing is being still and listening. So I'm going to be totally transparent. Meditation used to bother me. Like, I used to get so annoyed. I'm like, oh, this is annoying. I'm wasting my time. This is doing nothing. That's how I felt about meditation for a very long time. So I get it when people are like, oh, meditation, she's going to say meditation, right? Like, everyone says meditation, but it's so boring. But what I got was meditation, and this is, again, me dissecting what does meditation look like? And I had this story of what meditation looks like, feels like, sounds like. And then I got that meditation for me is totally different. My meditation is being still and sitting out with nature, walking on a beach, going for a hike, sitting under a tree, being, and just watching. My eyes aren't even closed, watching. And for me, that stillness allows me to separate from the ego mind and hear all the wisdom that's around me and through me and in me and as me. And that's a huge tool for me because I'm such a doer and I'm so action oriented. That stillness is the most productive thing I could ever do because it gives me space and it expands my container and my capacity to hold more, to do more, to be more, to achieve more. And for anyone who's like, well, I want to make more money and da-da-da-da-da, you think meditation's a waste of time. It's actually doing this so you can call in more and receive more into your space. So that's one. Second one, I do this thing called a through me exercise, where I literally, like, either with a journal or you could just do it kind of with your thought. I say, what do I need to know? And I write it on the top of the page and I just let my hand write and I see what comes through me. And it's this really interesting exercise where it's like my higher self speaks to me. And who knows if it's my subconscious mind or whatever. I don't know any science behind it. It doesn't matter. It works. And I use it with all my clients, and my clients, by and large, this is one of their favorite exercises because they get that there's something bigger operating them. If they tune into it and if they allow it, it's always there. The guidance is always there, but we're often like, no, shut up. I want to do it my way, right? So I think that separating and getting away from the ego mind, we have to first trust and listen to what else is out there.
So on your point one, like when I was getting into personal development and running my business, like I started to realize, listen to like every podcast. Like I was a learning
junkie
machine. Yeah, learning junkie, addicted to learning. And I had noticed that all of the top people, whether it be Tony Robbins or whether it be Tim Ferriss or, whoever, fill in the blank, Warren Buffett, all these different people, I was like, why do they all do some form of meditation? I was like, what is that? Like,
what's about this?
What is about this thing?
Right.
And that was my path then, because it just didn't. It was just like, what are they doing? Like, why? And now it even makes more sense. And because you're connecting into something higher than yourself, it's giving you more power, more reasons, and just more of being you, as opposed to being everyone and everything else.
Totally. And I love that you said that. I just had this amazing visual of, like, for me, meditation is like plugging into infinity, right? Like you plug into
like
just
this.
like this, exactly. Well, you think of a tree, right? A tree is rooted into the ground, into earth, but also reaching for infinity. And meditation for me, in my form of meditation, feels like I'm plugging in to the wisdom of this and this and this. And all of a sudden, when you're plugged into something that profound and infinite and transcendent, society and reality and the constructs and boundaries that we say is real life just seems so ridiculous, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And you kind of look at your life and you're like, oh, it makes sense. Like, I get it. But it takes a while to get to that point.
I know one of the things that you have posted a lot about on social media is about people playing small. Yeah. And about people hiding away from their gifts.
Yeah.
What is it that's firing you up about that? Why does that really fucking bug you?
Yeah, it fucking pisses me off. Here's why. Because I played small for so many years and I can spot it a mile away. We do it because our ego's winning. Our ego does not want to be destroyed. Our ego wants to look good. Our ego wants to be right. Our ego wants to be perfect. Our ego wants to be safe. And it's bullshit. Like, everyone is here for something. It may not be that you're here to stand on a stage and inspire people into their greatness. It may not be that you're here to start a nonprofit, but it might be that you're here to do something profound, like work in your community, like smile at the people who walk by you, like maybe just be yourself, right? And I think that the dis-ease of our world is that everyone is running away from who they truly are, trying to be somebody else. Meanwhile, who they truly are is all they need for everything they want. And it's so easy. It's so easy, but it's the hardest thing to do, because in order to do that, we've got to override the ego, and the ego doesn't want to die. The ego's number one job is to stay alive, stay safe, look good, have it all together, have it all look perfect, have it all be figured out. And that's what playing small is about. It's about curbing to the ego. And when I see people playing small, especially my coaching clients who give me permission to like yell at them, it really bothers me, because I know that what's underneath that is their ego kind of laughing, like, I'm winning. Oh, your gifts, all those things that you're here to do, cute. We're going to keep you safe. And playing small is the biggest slap in the face to the divine whatever is up there, because we're all here for something. And when we play small, we're basically saying a big fuck you to the creator and saying, everything that you've given me to build and create and manifest on this planet, I'm going to hold off on that because I'm too scared. And like, that's kind of bullshit.
Not only that, you're saying fuck you to all your family around you, all your friends.
Yeah.
Everyone that is connected to you online, that sees you and feels you, because by you not being your gift, you're stopping that upward spiral for everyone else. Because as soon as you step out and into that place,
Yeah.
you see other people go, oh, now that they've stepped into that space, you give them the permission and open that space for them to do the same thing.
That's it. And people don't realize that they are living permission every day for people. People say, well, I don't have a platform and I'm not trying to be a leader. And I'm like, everyone's a leader. Everyone is a leader. You have no idea who you're influencing, whether it's your brother, your sister, your mother, your child, your neighbor, the person at Starbucks. You're always influencing, always.
You can't not influence.
You can't not influence. So how are you influencing? That then becomes the question, right? Are you showing people that it's okay to stay small? Are you showing them that it's okay to just be okay? Are you showing them that you can take life on and do anything and create anything? Are you showing them that anything's possible? Are you showing them that authenticity is beautiful? Are you showing them that here's who I am and I'm going to shine it out in the world? Like, that is permission, and that's leadership. And I think you're absolutely right. It's a slap in the face to every single person in our lives, because ultimately we all just want to be ourselves, like fully ourselves. Not just some idea of who we think we want to be, but us. Like, we want all of it to come through, and we're dying to be ourselves. That's why people are depressed. That's why people are taking all sorts of drugs. That's why people are watching television like zombies, because we don't want to look at what's truly there.
Because it's painful.
It's painful because we've been running away from it and hiding from our true selves for so long that I think people are afraid to meet who they are for the first time. And it's scary. Like, I remember my coming home to self moments were fucking scary.
Same.
And it's not like beautiful and gay and euphoric and, oh, I love it. It's like, oh my gosh.
This is who I am.
Yeah, like, I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Totally.
So how did you begin to unfold that? How did you begin to look into the shadow? How did you begin to unravel all those aspects of yourself?
Well, I first had to look at my results in my life. So that was my first step, because I was outwardly achieving everything. And I know it's much like your story. At 20 years old, I started my nonprofit. From 17 to 20, I was traveling the world, opening up for a major recording artist at the time. Came back from that, was like, screw the music industry, I want to do a nonprofit. Then got into modeling and entertainment, killed it in that industry, made 6 figures in my early 20s, bought a place in New York City, the most expensive place in the world. I had it all, according to society's standards of having it all. And I felt so empty. Like, it was like I got to the top of the mountain and I'm like, is this all there is? Like, well, I thought this was supposed to be the answer. Like, I thought this was my happiness. I thought this was my fulfillment. I thought this was my legacy. I thought, like, this is what the world told me, but it's not true. And it was in those moments, and I remember I was actually in Africa on one of our trips, and we had just drilled a clean water well in a village. And all these women from the community come out, and they're dancing, and they're singing, and they're praying, and it's just like this magical moment of gratitude. And my partner, Tennille, is just, she's like a walking heart on legs. She's like so open emotionally, and she was just crying and just like tears of joy and gratitude. And mentally, I was so grateful to be there, but nothing was permeating me. Like, I couldn't feel the experience. And I remember I had this moment where I was kind of jealous of Tennille, and I'm like, oh, like, that's so annoying that she's crying right now. Like, ugh. I had one of those moments. And then I went back and I looked at that and I said, well, why can't I feel that the way she could? And it started with me looking at my life and being kind of disenchanted with how I was showing up and kind of feeling like a fraud in a way, and knowing something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So I started a journaling practice where I would just journal and say, like, why can't I feel? See what would come through. What am I missing? See, what am I pretending not to know? See what would come through. And that's when the whole rape and sexual assault revealed itself. And it was, obviously I knew it happened, but what happens with people with trauma is, if it's a really intense trauma, we tend to bury it like somewhere way back in our subconscious mind to pretend like it didn't happen, to protect ourselves. And that's what I did. And so when I recognized that that was there, I had to unpack that. It was like a suitcase stuffed away in storage for years. I had to unpack it. I had to look at everything. I had to go through the details of what occurred. And then I had to look at how I caused and created that scenario to happen in my life, which was massive. Like, that was the scariest thing, to take responsibility, obviously not for his actions, but who was I being to create that scenario in my life? And then that unfolded this whole shadow self of me living for my insecurities, of me being around people who were big talkers but no action. And I just started looking, like, even drinking and partying, like, all that stuff was all connected. And we can pretend like it's not all connected, but of course it is. And so I had to really get real and honest about how I was living and who I was being to attract something like that into my life. And then that brought me back, all the way back to, like, my parents and my childhood and my upbringing and things that, I started to find where the programming started. I'm like, oh, I remember that moment when I was 6 years old, where I came into school wearing this crazy outfit and people told me that I looked stupid. Okay, never again. I'm going to wear what everyone else is wearing.
To be safe.
To be safe. And I started finding all those little moments, and every time I uncovered a moment, it was like I peeled back a layer and a part of my true self was behind there. And it was like, oh, who's that? And I just got to know that person, and I'm still getting to know that person. And that is the journey home to self. And it's never ending. It's like you're always going to be a work in progress. And that's the beauty. And that's also, like, it's the catch-22 of this whole thing.
For sure. What would, if we were to bring her in now, your former version of yourself who was in that trauma and she was in that mindset, and she was to sit where I'm sitting today, how do you think she'd feel seeing you here right now?
Ooh, I honestly don't even think she would believe it. Like, it feels so different. Obviously, I was the same person intrinsically, and I had the same values and the same core essence, but I was hiding behind so many different masks that I don't think if I was sitting there, I would even recognize who this was.
Who that was.
And I'd almost look at it and look at me and go, is that possible? Like, is that really possible? Because I totally bought into the fact that you can't have it all. I did. And even though I was into personal development and into the very masculine side of personal development, which was like goals and achieving and like getting, attaining, I was missing the yin, the feminine, the surrender, the trust, the let go, and let whatever's up there take you on a ride. And that is where the magic is. And it's the person who'd be sitting there would never surrender, never. Like, control was everything for that person. Control was everything, because that's how I maneuvered and stayed safe in the world. And this person, like, has thrown it all up, and it's like, all right, let's see what's going to happen. And it's scary sometimes, but it's freaking awesome.
So now you're even saying that you go on stage and sometimes you don't even prep for that. Like, that is a whole new level of non-control.
Yeah, and you got to understand. So I don't know if you're into star signs, but I'm a Virgo as well. So I'm like super organized, super like boundaries. Structure is my like strong suit. So for me to let go of the structure and the control and the boundaries and the rules is like a 180 flip. But I've found that when I do that, something magnificent happens that I can't explain. But it's as if I'm opening up to what's bigger than me to operate as me, through me. And I just take me out of the way, and the message and the mission come through, and it's like, yeah, okay, I'm a vessel. Perfect. That's what I'm recognizing.
What is your mission?
My mission is to remind people of who they are, who and what they are, that they're magnificent, that they're divine beings, that they're infinite love. That's why I'm here. And it's going to manifest in so many different ways in my lifetime that I probably can't even imagine yet. But right now it's manifesting as content and speaking and workshops and all of that. But I truly, what's that?
And your book.
And my book, exactly. But I've actually always had this gift. Even as a child, I would see people as the truth of who they are. Not who they say they are, not their limiting beliefs, not what trauma they had been through, but I could see the truth of them. And I always spoke into that. So they would rise into that. And eventually I learned that, oh, this would be an amazing way to live my life. And to do this for my work would be just incredible and a great way to serve. So.
Were you good at helping them, helping friends and family?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was the person, even on set. So with my friends and family, of course, but I was on set in a very kind of superficial industry in television and modeling. And I'd be talking to the hairdresser, talking to the makeup artist, talking to the camera guys, and like someone's going through a divorce and I'm coaching them through that. And I just love that stuff. And I've always been like you, a learning junkie. I'm constantly reading, constantly taking in information. And I wanted to share it. I'm like, guys, I'm learning so many good things. Like, let me share this. Please, let me share this with you. Hopefully it'll support. Hopefully it'll help. And yeah, and it's just, again, it's just revealed and been like, oh yeah, it was here all along. Like, ever since I was a kid, this was here for sure. But I didn't realize that I could actually do something with it, because what I'm doing now didn't exist back in the day. So I couldn't have had a goal like become an emergent thought leader, like it didn't exist. Like create YouTube videos, and I could have never made that goal because it didn't exist back in the day. For me, the only person I had was Tony Robbins to look up to, and Tony did it a very specific way, and he's amazing and one of my mentors, but that's all I had. I didn't have a female. I didn't have anyone who was young, who looked like me, who sounded like me, who was crazy and who wanted to do cool stuff and like not just do business, but like give back and serve and travel the world and be funny and, swear. And I wanted to be myself, and I love that there's a movement of people now who are just coming out as who they are. And they're like, hey, here's who I am. I have this amazing message to share. Let me share it. I love that.
It's epic. It's epic to see it unfold and to be a part of it and see you guys can spread that and do it hard.
Totally. But even you, like, even what you guys are doing, this is exactly that. Like, you guys are saying, okay, here's how I'm going to take this mission that's been placed on my heart and serve and put it out. And it's coming out in your way, and it's coming out in my way and Preston's way. And
we're all collabing.
And we need everyone's way. Yeah. Like, everyone's way is needed.
Yeah. So we're going to an event this weekend called The New Way Live.
Yes.
We're talking about a new way of being. We're talking about a new world and how we can structure that. So let's pretend for a second that you have been called in on a board of advisors for this new world, for this new way of being. What would you see that world firstly looking like? How would it be different from today?
I think so much would be different, because I envision this new world as a place where everyone is stepping up and taking ownership and responsibility for their role on this planet. And I think the first thing that would be implemented in that new space is mandatory self-awareness training. Like everyone would have to get emotional intelligence training, self-awareness, and kind of really cultivating the truth of who we are at a young age. Because early on, I believe kids come in and they're perfect. They're like untouched and so perfect. And then, well-intentioned parents and society and teachers, we start putting our programming and our conditions and our rules and our boundaries. And all of a sudden, we become a shell of who we actually are. And I think what would be really profound is if that programming never happened and we could see what could be created in the space of everyone living their truth. Like, just imagine how profound that would be. So amazing.
That would be incredible. So how do you think we start to get to that space?
I think we start getting there by things like this, conversations like this. I think it's not going to happen the same way for everyone. I think everyone's going to kind of have their own personal wake-up moment, however they need to have it. But I think, people like you and your brother who are creating platforms like this, people like Preston and I who are doing it in our way, we're hearing the call to share. And we have no idea how it's going to happen. We have no idea how it's even going to be successful, but we know that we have to share. And the reason that's been planted on our hearts is because there are a certain group of people who need to hear it from us to wake up, to then become the messengers in their own life. And then we create this ripple effect. So you had your wake up. I don't know who started your wake up. I had my wake up, and I had a few different people who started my wake up. And now I get to be that for other people. And we're like passing the torch. And I feel like conversations like this, conversations like The New Way, events like The New Way, platforms on the internet, YouTube videos that are inspiring people and empowering them, this is the torch. We're going here, your turn. What are you going to do with it? And that's exciting.
That is exciting and scary at the same time.
What makes it scary though?
What makes it scary, I think, at least going back in time for me, is that it means it's time to step up. It means it's time to stop pretending to, live and drown yourself in everything that this society creates for us to do that, to suppress our highest good. Whether that be watching Netflix every night, whether that be, just doing stuff that just isn't eating food that's not serving your life, watching stuff, consuming stuff that's not serving your life, because everything that we put into us visually, auditory, we are just, experiential beings, and how we put that in is what is going to express out through us. So I think we got to be so
careful,
mindful, careful, conscious of what it is we're consuming, to what effect it's having on our life, on our reality, and start questioning everything. Everything. Does this serve my highest good? Does this serve my highest good? Does this serve my highest good?
And that does take radical change. And I think what you're speaking on, the scary part of that, is we have to be ready to say goodbye to our small self. We have to be ready to say, okay, no more, enough of that. I'm done playing small. I'm done ignoring the fact that I've got greatness inside of me. I'm done listening to these rules that never made sense. I'm done with separation. I'm done with the bullshit. And it's time to actually step up. And that takes a lot of courage. And it is really hard, but it's also really easy. It depends on how we want to focus on it, right? And how we want to look at it. And I agree, if we're feeding our soul, if we're feeding our mind, if we're feeding our environment and our friends, if we're feeding our lives with inspiration, positivity, motivation, authenticity, integrity, if we're just surrounded by it, we can't help but become that. And I think if we can, the easiest thing anyone can do is make sure that the things that they put into their mind and their body and their spirit are clean. And I don't mean like clean and dirty. I mean
yeah.
just clean, like intentionally clean. Does it feel good? Does it make you feel empowered and inspired? Does it awaken that truth bubble within you that's like, hi, I'm trying to get out. Like, let me out, let me out. If you're feeling like your friends and your surroundings and your environment are bringing you down, please, by all means, find a way to very nicely separate yourself, still love them, but don't spend as much time with them. And immerse yourself. If you don't have a positive environment, immerse yourself in books, in podcasts, in platforms like this. It's so important, and it's the beginning of everything. It really is.
And I don't know about yourself, but for me, where I grew up was in the north of the UK. It's called a place called Newcastle. So you might have heard of the brown ales.
Totally.
Newcastle brown ale.
Totally.
So, and there wasn't much around. Like there wasn't many people that I could look to in my city per se.
Yeah.
That was thinking in this way, that like.
Totally.
And sometimes at that point in time for me, I felt very alone. I was like, oh my God, like how am I going to do this? How am I going to break the mold?
Yeah.
And then again, like yourself, I found books.
Yeah.
I found podcasts, and I started surrounding myself with more and more positive information that was feeding my soul from the inside out.
Totally.
And from that space, my life just changed from like having no job whatsoever to then like running my own business, creating a successful business. And then like, it goes from there to creating successful relationships.
Yep.
And it just like, everything just like spiraled upwards.
Totally. And it unfolds.
Yeah.
And you almost don't know, again, you don't know the how. You have no idea how it's going to happen. But you know that the why is so strong. And you're like, I'm so committed to living my best life. And I have no idea how that's going to happen. But my intention is there in every moment. Is this for my highest good? And like those books, for me, I'm from a small town as well. Those books were my mentorship. Like I went into the library and I got free books, and it was like picking the brain of the most brilliant minds out there for 3 to 5 hours or 2 days or however long it took me to read the book. I was getting the juiciest stuff from their lives. And people are like, oh, well, I can't find a mentor. Go to the bookstore. Go to the bookstore and stop using that as an excuse. There's so much good information out there.
And so we got books, we got the internet now, and there literally is not the excuse to like not being able to do what you want to do in life does not exist. Like it ends
now.
Yeah, now.
Totally.
5 years ago.
Totally. And everyone wants to. We all want to bank on some excuse, right? We all want to say, oh, well, I can't right now. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the platform. I don't have the whatever. Fill in the blank. But if you have breath, you have every opportunity to make a difference right now, because right now, in all moments, in every moment, every single one of us is being a leader in our lives. Every single one of us is giving somebody permission to either live their life incredibly and extraordinarily, or to kind of be dull and boring and depressed. Every single one of us is leading someone, and we're making an impression wherever we go. So then the question becomes, are we a part of the problem, or are we a part of the solution? And I know for me, I want to be a part of the solution.
Same.
Yeah. Like, it's not going to be easy, but that's what I'm committed to.
It's so true that like every single moment, as soon as we step outside the door, as soon as you go to the shop in the morning, as soon as you get on the bus, or you go on public transport, or you jump in an Uber, like those interactions, that's where it begins.
Yes.
And it is 100% our responsibility to take action for that. And if we don't take action for that, it is not just affecting our life. So if we're just thinking, oh, I don't want to do it for me, like it's affecting your family, every single person that you come into contact with.
Totally.
And even if you're sat there maybe now thinking, okay, well, there's this excuse, this excuse, maybe think of those people, think of the bigger why, and use that as your power source to push you over the edge.
Totally. Because sometimes our own small wants aren't enough.
No.
But for some people who love to support and take care and nurture the people that they love most, imagine what you could open up for them just by showing up as all of you. And by the way, that's all any of us want to do anyway. We all are like dying to be ourselves. And I think when one of us does it, someone else looks and they're like, oh, that's possible? Oh, I can do that too? oh, wait, I should try that on. Ooh, this feels good. And then like the ripple effect happens. And a lot of people say, well, you know, what can I do? I'm just one human. And one human, one voice is the only thing that's ever changed the world. If you think of the one voice that said, I have a dream. If you think of the one voice that said equality is important. If you think of the one voice that said no on the back of a bus, like one voice has changed everything on the planet. So now, what does your voice want to say? Like, are you just like being robotic and tuning off and shutting down and numbing yourself with a drink or with a Netflix marathon or with terrible food? Like, what are we turning ourselves off from? Normally, it's the truth of who we are. But sometimes it's so painful to go back and meet who we truly are because we've never known it. Or it's been so long since we've met that 4-year-old self or 5-year-old self who is so filled with joy just because. That's scary for a lot of people, and I get it. Like, I went there, and it's not always pretty. You know, it's
not pretty at all.
Yeah, it's brutal sometimes to go back and go, oh my gosh, I have no idea who I am. Who is this person, this falsity that I've been living for the last however many years? And who am I actually? And now let's bridge the gap.
Because we've been sold an idea from society, from everyone else, about who it is that we are.
Totally. And we're trying to be who we think we should be. Meanwhile, we're not rising into who we already are.
And moving further away.
Totally. And who we already are is everything. It's enough. It's validated. It's worthy. It's love. And like I hear people all this time, they say, well, I deserve love. I deserve worthiness. It's like, no, you don't. You are love. You are worthiness. You are abundance. You are magic because you are a unique emanation of the whole that is everything. So how can you not be everything?
How can you be stoked with that?
Yeah, like how could you can't want for anything when you are everything, right? And when we tap into that simple truth, and it's so profound but so simple, and often the simple things are the hardest things to do. When we tap into that universal truth of we are everything, then I can see you as everything. I can see the grass as everything. I can see the tree as everything. And I'm starting to recognize myself as this divine being, and everything on this planet is just a reflection of the divine being. And then all of a sudden that illusion of separation disappears because we're all it. All of us are.
And it is the disconnection. It's the disconnection from one another, from the disconnection from nature. When you walk outside your door and you don't see thy neighbor as thy brother.
Yes.
It is then that he doesn't matter, she doesn't matter,
Yeah.
this doesn't matter, nature doesn't matter.
Nothing
and nothing matters.
Yeah.
And the ego completely takes its hold because then it's it's just me against the world.
Totally.
But when you realize you are the world and it is you, then your relationship is completely reframed. And
totally.
I went through this. I remember not knowing this, and I think inherently there was a part of me that always did know it.
Yeah.
But I had convinced myself otherwise.
Totally. And I think inherently we do all know it. I really, truly do. I think anything that you do, anything that I do, anything that anyone in this personal development world does, we're just reminding people. It's like a dusting off of something we all intrinsically know. But I love what you said, loving thy neighbor as thy brother, thyself. Yes. And the neighbor isn't just the human neighbor. It's the animal neighbor. It's the plant neighbor. It's the sky neighbor. It's the cloud neighbor. And it's all a neighbor because we're all here together. And I think because we've been so disconnected with our cement walls and our fancy cars and our, plastic everything that separates real Mother Earth from Mother Earth. Like we forget that we're a part of it. We're all nature. And that separation is what has caused distress in this world, because why should we care about something that we have no relation to? Why? Right? Like if you tell me like, Bob's sick. I'm like, okay, who's Bob? Like if I have no relation to Bob, that's not going to hit me the same as if Bob was like my brother. And if you look at the ancient wisdom traditions, the people who lived in and of and from the earth, everything was their brother, their grandfather, their grandmother, their sister. And when you have that type of relationship, you have a different type of respect. And I think that's what we're missing.
Well, even if we're to look at the what kind of sat on Native American land right now, and
Yep.
and when the British colonized America, we came over and we were given gifts and spices to the Native Americans,
Yeah.
and they assumed that we were just gifting because
Yeah.
that's what you did. We're still brothers.
Totally.
And then we colonized and took the land.
Yeah.
They were happily to share it because they were sharing what was not. It was just clearly it's just the land. You come here and enjoy it and help it and.
Yeah, and there's a quote, I forget what chief said it, but he said when that process happened, they were talking about owning the land, and he said we had no concept of what that even meant because we didn't own anything.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not us to own.
it's not ours to claim. It's ours to live with and be in unity with, but it's not ours to say, well, this is Chief so-and-so's land and it ends right here because I drew a line there and I have a piece of paper. That was a foreign concept. And if you look at what we've created in our world, we've created this imaginary world of lines and boundaries and mine and yours and this and that, and it's all the same thing. But we've just constructed this separation to make us feel safe, but it's actually what's created fear and scarcity. Yeah.
If you imagine you were to scope out from the world and you flew in from another planet and you were to look at what we have created this far, would you or would I, if we were that person being, if we can get ourselves into that frame of mind, would we be happy with this? And the lines and the borders, and this is my territory, this is your territory. You've got this colour skin, I've got that colour skin.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, what the
Yeah.
fuck are you guys doing? Like, just sort it out. Like, this is the game. You guys created the game.
Yeah, and now you're confused about the rules, and you're going, oh, the rules are bad. Well, you made them. Like, your
You
rules.
made them, yeah. It's your
think-
bed and you lie.
I think if I was an alien and I looked down, I'd be like, this is weird. Like, this is strange. Do they not get that they're all a part of the same thing and they're like killing each other off? That's weird. Like, it's when you take that kind of macro view of it, it seems so strange that we don't get that. Just because our skin is different and our language is different and our borders, our imaginary lines on a map are different, we think that we're different, but we're the same species, and we're the same nature, and we're of the same home, Earth. And like, the fact that we've missed that is frightening.
I can't remember which astronaut it was exactly. The name has slipped my mind, but he was one of the first 10 in space. And he said that once he got out there and he's seen the Earth at that point, that's when he realized, like, the connection, the beauty, everything that has ever happened happened here.
Oh,
there.
that kind of perspective, man. Wow.
And I think if we could, it would be all beautiful if we could just like quickly pop up there and have a look.
Teleport up to space and come back.
But we can't, so
Yeah.
I think we have to take action. That's why we're going to events like this, and that's why we're having these conversations, and that's why being a part of this conversation with us and sharing this stuff
is huge.
Yeah.
Like, and again, when we share and we tag friends and we like, we're giving our social capital, we're giving our thumbs up, we're giving our yes to something that's creating a positive impact on the world. Again, part of the solution versus part of the problem. The news, negative video games, war movies. Like, you look at all this stuff that's perpetuating fear and hate in our world.
We have to outdo that.
We have to outdo it. And the only way we do it is not by fighting their fight, it's creating a new path, creating a whole different option that's way more appealing because it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. And it's like, I wish for everyone to have the type of experience of life that I know you have, that I have, where it's just pure possibility. Like, I wish everyone to experience that. I really do.
And they can.
Yeah, they totally can. Just keep doing this. Keep watching stuff like this.
Okay, so we covered a lot of awesome topics there, and the next round is some profane questions,
Ooh.
and some are profound.
Okay, I love it all. Bring it on.
So, It's a quick fire round, so be quick as you can.
Okay.
So, first question is, what are the 3 books that have influenced you most and why?
Okay, 3 books. Intimacy by Osho, because it completely like flipped my idea of what love is and what intimacy is, because I had a romantic connotation around those words. And to understand what true deep intimacy with everything is, and what love, deep, infinite, intimate love is like mind-blowing. Book number 2, Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh. Fantastic, completely transformed my view of spirituality, of what even the word God meant. I used to like really not like the word God.
Man in a beard.
Yeah, like white robe, I'm like, come on. But it really allowed me to come to some middle ground on what that term meant. It's beautiful. 3rd book is Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu. It's like my manuscript, my Bible, my like everything. I read it every morning. I just like flip it open to a verse and always get something magnificent and profound and just fantastic from it.
Love that book. You can literally, that is a book where you can just open up verse and just sit with it.
Yeah, and you know what I love about that book too is it's wisdom from nature. Like it's literally, Lao Tzu took the wisdom from nature and just went phew, and like gave it to us in a way that we can understand it. But he uses nature as a metaphor, and I think all of the great, amazing ancient wisdom traditions use nature as our teacher, because it is.
And it's so relatable, and we get it.
So relatable. So good.
What habits do you want to break?
Ooh, I'm always finding habits I want to break. I would say right now, like my biggest old habit that I'm noticing is overwhelm, because I feel like I'm in a space right now where I planted a lot of seeds in my life last year, and they're all coming to harvest all at the same time, and I'm like, oh, yay! Oh my gosh, this is a lot. It's like I get so excited and I'm like enjoying it, and then all of a sudden that overwhelm sets in. It's like, can you handle this? Are you gonna explode? Can your capacity actually do all of this? And I have to keep reminding myself that yes, I can. I am in infinite space for all things possible. And I keep expanding my container, and I keep doing one thing at a time, and keep asking myself, what is the highest use of my time right now in this moment, and how can I serve? And those 2 things together just keep overwhelm from like coming in. It still comes in, but then I refocus and go.
What habits have helped you most on this journey?
Gratitude, for sure. And again, it sounds so simple, but it's often the hardest thing to do. And I truly believe that like, if, we're all asking like, I just want the secret to life. What's the secret to life? If God like came down in his white robe, long beard, on his cloud with like his stick and was like, I will tell you the secret of life, I feel like he would say gratitude, and then he'd float back up and we'd all be like, that's it? Like, gratitude? Are you sure? Are you sure you don't have anything else to tell us? Because that's it. But yeah, that's it. That's it. It's gratitude, because when your heart is in a grateful vibration, when your spirit is in a grateful vibration, when you are just radiating gratitude, you cannot experience fear, pain, or suffering. You just cannot. And yes, it's easy to be grateful when everything's going right, but can we be grateful when everything's going wrong? And be grateful for it. Like, why am I grateful for this, for the mess, for everything that's like crumbling in front? Why am I grateful for this? Why is this amazing? And when we can do that, game changer.
Gratitude has been huge for me, like every day.
Yes.
Journal every day what I'm grateful for, but
So good.
the challenge, the real challenge, like you said, is when you're in the moments of stress, when you're in the moments of overwhelm,
Yes.
and saying, how can I be grateful for this right now?
Yeah, and it's not easy, and like our old patterns die so hard, but it's a practice. Yeah.
What are the top 5 things that you cherish most in life?
I cherish awareness. Awareness has been the number 1 game changer for me as far as my growth goes, because with awareness I have choice, and with awareness I constantly can separate my ego self from my higher self, and within that I always find home. So awareness, love, in the sense of infinite love, everything love. I am love, you are love. And then the love that I have for humanity, the love I have for my partner, the love I have for my tribe, the love I have for my family, the love I have for nature and trees and love. Like, it's just so good, so good. The ability to grow and expand, it's just so incredible to like look back and go, oh my gosh, I've come so far and I'm just getting started. And I think life would be so boring if we couldn't grow and expand, and or if like there was a destination to get to and we got there and like that was it, like I figured it out. You know, like I've got the secret to life. I love that I always get to grow, and I always get to humbly bow down and say, what do I need to learn? Teach me. And that's just such a magnificent feeling, that newness, the beginnings. Oh, it's so good. The silence that just perfectly showed up again. Yes. Stillness in the chaos. We always have stillness in the chaos if we just take that moment. And then we can awaken to the chaos and be present with it, with a stillness inside, and like
It changes everything.
And nature, like, I mean, come on. Come on. How can we not? Like, nature is my spirit animal. You know, everyone's like, oh, birds are my spirit animal. Nature's my spirit animal. I love nature. All nature, spirit animal. It's like a unicorn in my life. I just love it because anytime I'm feeling like down, I'm having an off day, I'm seeking guidance, or I'm like, I can't make a decision, I just go out and sit with nature or walk in nature, and I get everything I need. It's like, and here I am. So yeah, thank you.
What is too serious to be joked about?
Nothing. Like, I truly believe this, and I think this is so important, especially in personal development, spirituality. This whole world, everyone takes themselves so seriously. And I get it. It's serious stuff. We're dealing with our shadow selves. We're dealing with some trauma. We're dealing with our programming. Yes, serious stuff. But it's not that serious. It's just not. Like, it's life.
The cosmic game.
Yeah, it is. It's a cosmic game. It's a cosmic joke, and we're all just players in it. And why not have a little fun with it? And why not like bring some levity to what could be really depressing and like hardcore? You know, like when I first started my personal development journey, I was so intense with it and like so mindset. It's like, lighten up, have fun with it, enjoy life, dance, flow, be flexible. Like, it's not that serious.
That rolls on perfectly to my next question was, what do you do for fun?
Ooh, I do so much for fun. First of all, I'm weird and silly and like, blah. So I meet up with my other weird and silly and crazy friends, and we just like act like giant 5-year-olds, including my fiance. He is one of my favorite giant 5-year-olds, and that's why I'm marrying him, because we have so much fun together. And I love to play in nature, like just getting out in the ocean, getting on a hike, getting in trees. I love climbing trees, like just being out in nature. I love traveling. I love new experiences. I love stretching myself. So like new culture, new language, new food, new place, new directions. I like all things new, because then I'm like, okay, I know nothing, and now I get to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like, yes.
Beginner's mind.
Yeah, so good.
Very zen.
So good. And then I love really stupid movies. Like, I love anything Jim Carrey. Like, I just love like anything Will Ferrell. Anything that's ridiculous, that's gonna make me laugh and just be stupid and silly for a little bit. So good.
We can see that in you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So good.
Okay, so what is next for Alexi? What's coming up in your life?
In like immediate view, my book is coming out in like like a week, which is insane.
So by the time you listen to this,
Yes,
it will be out.
It'll be out. So 50 Ways to Yay is coming out.
I've already pre-ordered it.
Yes, amazing. And then Preston and I just turned in our draft for our first joint book together called Now or Never.
I didn't know you were doing that.
Yes, so that comes out in December of this year. So we were in Bali writing that together. We're getting married in a month. So we're planning a wedding. We're going on our honeymoon to Morocco and Spain, which is just going to be fantastic. Then we've got speaking gigs all over the world. One back in Bali at a women's conference. We're going back to Australia and New Zealand for like 4 months for our tour, for workshops. We're going to Africa with my nonprofit in October. And just so many amazing things. We're going to be with the gorillas in the mountains for like fun after our Africa trip. And London, we'll be there for the Bridge Experience. But future stuff, I don't know. It's like the giant question mark, right? Like I could have all these plans other than what's already on my calendar, but like the 3-year goal, the 5-year goal, I don't know. And that excites me, you know, because I used to be so attached to like, well, I need to do this by this time. And in a year and 3 years and 5 years and 10 years. And now I'm just like, well, my intention's there to just keep unfolding into my highest self. Now I'm going to surrender to whatever that looks like and however that needs to come through, because what I'm doing right now, I could have never guessed. I could have never like written it on a vision board, and I would have never put this as my life, but I freaking love it. But I had to be open and surrender and trust that this is the path. And I'm just going to keep doing that because it's working out pretty good.
Same. It's beautiful. Yeah. So where can people connect with you? Where can they find about your workshops and all the different stuff that you do in your book? Where can they find all that?
Yeah, everything is at alexipanos.com. So you can find my nonprofit Epic there. You can find all about the Bridge Method, which is our online program, the Bridge Experience, which are our workshops. The book is there. Everything's there. If you want to stalk me online, Alexi Panos, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm not on Snapchat, but anything, just type in Alexi Panos and it'll just be like, there I am.
Sweet. And I know you mentioned earlier on that people can join and help with the nonprofit. What's the website for that again?
Yeah, so the nonprofit, if you want to come to Africa and actually be a part of our Global Fellowship Program, which is a leadership training program where you do your own give back project, which is so cool, it's epicfellowshipprogram.com.
That's awesome.
And you have to apply, and we curate the groups, and it's very, we pick the right people who need to be there based on energy and how you show up in your application. So take your time with it.
That's awesome. Thank you, Alexi. So for anyone, because I know there's a lot of links there, for everything that Alexi said today, it will be in the show notes. So if you head to www.evolveonline.co/the show, you can find all the links and everything that Alexi said. And that is it for us today. I want to just thank everyone who has joined us on this journey and who is trying to connect to their higher self and just expand and grow. I commend you for doing that, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much, Alexi. Thank you for everyone tuning in from here in LA.
Yes, from the magic mountains of Topanga.
Thank you so much. Big love.
Of course.
Thanks,
Yes.
Alexi. Yes, we did it.
Then I ended up working for an advertising agency and got put into the grind. When you're just completely just shut down and then you have to create a new campaign for Disney tomorrow, it makes you really creative, and it kind of opens like the vessel to bring in through higher information. Just the grind and needing something to happen, like for money and deadlines that killed my soul, didn't really feel that great.
So you've kind of been famous for having a great knowledge on extraterrestrial life. And there's so much information online, but I still think, like, at least for me, there was always a part where it just wants to shut it out and pretend that that's not real. What do you think that fear is?
I think that fear is how real it is. You know, sometimes when it's something so intrinsically true that you just like want it not to be true, so you need extra like force to not have it be real. It means so much to humanity because it means that everything that we've been taught about everything is off, everything's different, like all about time, all about technology, all about all the stuff that's been hidden from us. Our greater connection to our cosmic ancestry, I mean, everything we've been programmed in is counter to what the reality is.
Welcome to the new age, to the new age, welcome to the new age.
There will be disclosure, there will be physical contact. If there's an openness and there's this wonder, it'll happen. You know, it's just bound to happen. It's a part of this life's experience.
Do you think they're linked? Spirituality and
They're absolutely linked, for sure. And I feel like spirituality is kind of step one, because you can't even begin to conceive outside of the five senses like we were talking about until you go into the spiritual, and then once you venture out, then you're like, whoa, there's some ETs out here.
what do you feel like we're evolving into? Where do you see this going currently?
Oh, I see it going in the most beautiful direction.